Is it true that for a good while that people used to believe that the Iliad was a piece of history?
Interesting. So I'm nowhere near an expert on the Iliad, but and there's a so well just a bit of background. My tutor at Oxford, she's called Gail Trimble. She was my classics tutor. Absolute genius. You know what I mean? Like insane. Like I had one on because I did classics and French, which is slightly different from what my other classics friends. So I'd like have one-on-one tutorials with her, and like when you're at uni, you drink a bit, you sort of go out nights out. I didn't do a lot of work. I'd be like, oh no, and then she had sense the disappointment. But she's like so extra genius, So I don't want to. But I mean, I know way more than most people. But so the Iliad it's a weird point in time because the Trojan War, Troy existed. There was a place in Troy, and there's this famous archaeologist Schliemann who went to Troy and destroyed loads of the artifacts there. He was like, "Oh, I'm going to find proof of the Trojan War," and it's strange because it linked. There definitely was a war in Troy, because there was a Troy and then it collapsed and then it comes up again, and that's historically fairly sort of certain. But we don't know if there was the official Trojan War, I mean, the Iliad, like the gods are always interfering, and then the gods appear in real life and fight. And there's those arguments as to whether the gods are actually metaphors for human emotion and human motivation. But I think most people agree that we're meant to see it as just like, oh, the gods are existing here. But for example, Julius Caesar and Augustus and a lot of the big men, they sort of saw themselves as descending from this line, which began with Aeneas, and Aeneas obviously he's the son of Venus, and Anchises is a big player in Troy. He's the guy who leaves Troy with everyone. That's the whole story of the Aeneid. So I think now they saw it as sort of like part of their history, and obviously it's weird because we don't know what they knew. There's so much literature which just so maybe they had we've got some proof for this, but it may not have survived. But I mean, and in our days now, I think I like to see it as sort of the point where myth and history meet almost, because afterwards there's a lot more stuff, and then afterwards there's more things which are Romulus and Remus. It's a bit, but then it's like the kings of Rome, and that's a lot more historical, But even Roman historians, you can't really trust them. Apart from Tacitus, he's quite trustworthy, but the rest are a bit, it's just their own agendas really. But
So you say you like to see it as myth and history coming together. Where would you say that intersection starts?
well, I think more partly the idea that there was a war in Troy, there was a big war, and I think that so everything before that is a bit like it's so hard to say because afterwards Rome was founded afterwards, and the Greek city-states, and there's always been that animosity between Greece and even more so now, right? Like Greece and Turkey where Troy was, they hate each other, right? And now, and then at that time, Rome, which was who are the new Trojans, and Greece, they hated each other. So I think that's sort of the end, and after that, it becomes more historical. But I mean, we always have a vague idea of what happened, but we don't have any detail. And the Iliad is as a historical, it's just useless, It's like, Achilles, did he exist? Perhaps. Yeah, we have no idea. Maybe, but Homer's incredibly interesting. The writer, the author, because it was all oral tradition, right? And that's why it was carried over by person to person, which is insane, right? I can't imagine doing that. And it's such a long book, but he had tricks, he had tricks and tips. The idea of the epithet describing a character, which he'd use that would help him remember how to continue the line. Yeah, it's a tough question, eh?